Once again, the lies are exposed. We all knew that Doge was a big failure. Yes, it was a failure. In order to try to find any type of savings, they had to lie about it. But you know what they did worse is they messed with one of our sacred programs, Social Security, and they lied about it. And they lied about it not by error, but knowingly. I want you to listen to this piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
40% of the calls into Social Security were fraudulent.
40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line.
We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens.
That was a lie. It was repeated over and over again by the most powerful people in our government everywhere they went. It was used over and over to justify Donald Trump and Elon Musk's chaotic plans to take over the Social Security Administration. Today, the New York Times reports that it's also an example of how the Trump administration knowingly allowed a critical government agency that millions of Americans depend on to be run through misinformation, echoed and amplified publicly by Elon Musk, and in this case, enforced internally by Stephen Miller's wife. From that new report, quote, Social Security employees knew the billionaire's claim had no basis in fact. After journalists followed up, staff members began drafting a response correcting the record. That's when Leland Dudek, plucked from a mid-level job only 6 weeks earlier to run Social Security, got an angry call from the White House, according to several people familiar with the exchange. Quote, the number is 40%, insisted Katie Miller, a top administration aide who was working closely with Musk, according to one of the people familiar with the April 1st call. President Trump believed Musk, she said, do not contradict the president. Take me through what you and your colleagues are reporting.
Yeah, well, we looked at Social Security. It was really sort of a case study of Elon Musk. It was and DOGE, and they kind of fixated on this, as the agency that they were going to try to kind of fix. They thought there was all kinds of fraud and waste, and this could be sort of a shining example of that. But what they ended up doing was taking all kinds of distortions, misinformation, and blowing those up through Elon Musk's Twitter feed. And it caused a lot of havoc inside the agency. We were able to see that really close up with some of our reporting from current and former employees. And they ended up elevating somebody who was a mid-level person, a fraud expert, actually, but then not actually listening to the expertise of him and others in terms of trying to actually fix an agency. Instead, it was things that they didn't understand. They just assumed it was showing something really scandalous instead of actually trying to understand it. And they rejected the expertise, and that caused a lot of chaos and problems.
I want to read more from your reporting. You write this. The Times investigation found that Musk became fixated on the program in early February after members of his team misread government spending data. In response, Musk's team mobilized dozens of Social Security employees to affirm their views about fraud and began a project to ensure dead people were properly classified so they weren't mistakenly paid, even though DOGE officials acknowledged in an internal memo that payments were not being made in those cases. I mean, there are still probably millions of the president's supporters who believe that lie.
It got incredible traction, this idea that and President Trump even repeated it in his congressional address. And he even said, he went through and read off these stunning numbers of the people who were dead. And he said that it was that many of them were on Social Security. In fact, the DOGE members who were inside the agency at the time, they understood that these were very old people, 150 or so. They were 150 years old, and it was just a record-keeping issue, essentially, with them. And it was not actually getting any payments, and they understood that. And yet they embarked on this whole project to ostensibly remove these people, give them different dates of death, in order to satisfy this idea that Musk and President Trump and others were perpetuating, that these were actually dead people getting Social Security checks, which was not true.
Now, why would anyone want to do what DOGE did? Shouldn't that really be a crime? I mean, shouldn't the information that they gave out that he tweeted be some sort of an offense? I think we should try to draw the lines between somebody that has received a heart attack or something because they were fearful of their Social Security after Mr. Musk tweeted something. Maybe that's where we have to find a legal way to go after these liars, because while you can't stop them from lying because of free speech, if their knowing lies cause harm to others, I think that itself should be a crime and something we can do something about. But this is pathetic, and we shouldn't stand for it. And we need to remind everybody that all that stuff that they heard about Social Security, they were verifiable lies, and that is something we need to get out there.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.